Okay, fantastic. Hello, everyone. Good to have you here. Paul Tranny, coming at you from my home. Wow, imagine that. I'm home. It's amazing what you can get done when you're home. All right, so Afroja, thank you so much for watching with me. I really appreciate it. Appreciate everybody hanging out. I just want to say welcome. Like that, and let's dive into this because I'm going to be doing some complex art, hopefully some artwork that you think is cool. Show you how to make these brushes for people who are not illustrators. So you might not be an illustrator, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be using brushes, is what I'm saying. So that's the goal. Oop, hello. Well, let's mute that. That was bad. All right, so with all that muted, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you what I am talking about, right? And just kind of some artwork that I'm working on. So let me know if you have questions. Guy Holt, good to have you. From Melbourne, Australia. Awesome. I haven't been to Melbourne in years, and I'd love to be there. So, yeah, that'd be fantastic. I'm broadcasting from sunny Denver, Colorado, although we had snow this weekend. So let me know how you're doing. Mary McCarthy, thank you so much for joining myself and everyone else. And we will dive into this right now that I have everything up, and I think everything's working. Fantastic. You can see this complex. It looks kind of messy. I might need your help with it in terms of like the overall design, because again, I'm still working on it. So there's parts of it that I don't like. There's parts of it that I do like, right? And you can kind of see what's going on here. A lot of detail, and I would say what really helped me out the most was brushes. So thank you so much. So I don't think it's perfect. I have some other ideas, Antonio. Thank you so much. Too kind. I assume that's what you mean when you say perfect. You tend to like this, but I'm still working on it. But how is this made? Well, you know, it was made with a lot of complex layers, you could say. In fact, let's just kind of turn off a couple of these things and I'll show you. If I just isolate the face alone, right? So what I am actually doing is just individually placing, you know, images to outline this woman's face, right? So here's her face, and it's a matter of, you know, grabbing this, maybe, you know, these leaves right here, dropping them in, shrinking them down, rotating them, and placing them in place, right? So that's typically the process that I can do. In fact, I'll bring out these cherry blossoms, right? I want these cherry blossoms to conform to her arm or something, right? I'm going to get to brushes in a second, not to worry. Let me know, let me know what you think. But I want this arm to kind of follow the curvature, these blossoms to follow the curvature of her arm. I could use something like Puppet Warp right over here, okay? Puppet Warp's going to help me do any of that warping that I need. I add those pins, those control points, and then I can bend it kind of around her arm like so, okay? Which works out great for the most part. But really what I want to do is I want to be able to fill, you know, sections of her arm with leaves, right? So for that, I actually want to use brushes. So that's why I'm switching over, outlining the problem, and now we'll tackle it. Yes, good evening from Sweden. Good to have you here, Bjorn. Awesome. So much to do. I'll show you how you can make brushes. Again, super easy. Or maybe simple, super powerful. So let's just take like these olive leaves again. Okay, so here's the leaves. And typically, just outline what brushes are. I have brushes right over here, and typically I can pick right in here, you know, a hard brush, right? And you know what that looks like. You know, with these different splatter brushes, right? But I'm talking about brushes that have an image. So let's go beyond that, right? So that's what I want to do right here. I'm going to turn this leaf into a brush. So over that, selecting it. In fact, I typically turn off the background. I'll go to edit and I'll define a brush preset is what I'm doing. Okay, so let me know if you have questions. Mary, where are you from? It's curious. Switching over. All right. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna call this leaves, right? Let's call this leaves 1 because chances are I'm gonna have lots of leaves. With that done, click OK, done. What does it do? It makes this brush right down here in my brushes panel. So it turned what is selected into this brush, which looks totally lame, but I'm gonna make it look awesome. That is the goal. Okay, oh, Mary McCarthy's in London. You know, there's a creative jam we're having in London, or we had it tonight, last night? And actually, no, it is tonight. We have a creative jam basically going on right now. Just a little FYI. And sorry, I'm so pushed over. Let's fix this too. There we go. Okay, so with that done, that leaf is now a brush. I'll turn that, I'll leave it on. I'll select that leaf right here. I'll change the color to green because that's what we'd want it to be. We'll click OK, right? And that's not what we want, right? Sure, the essence is there. This is fantastic. Thank you so much, right? Look, the essence is basically there, right? But this is super boring just clicking around like that. Yeah, that might work for some purposes, but not for mine. So that's why I want to check out this brush and go into brush settings. In the brush settings, I want to change some of the shape dynamics. Okay, so you ready for this? Tunisia in the house. Yeah. Elise, I'm going to change the size jitter, crank it up to 100. Now watch what happens when I click. It varies that in size, right? Kind of does the obvious. It does a size jitter. And all you could do this, you do all of this with a mouse. I'm going to take this to the next level. I'm going to adjust the angle jitter, so it's going to actually come in at different sizes, different angles, giving me more along the lines of what I want. Okay, taking it a step further because that looks pretty good. Adding in color dynamics. Okay, Bear from the Netherlands, from Egesen. Sorry, I'm not saying that right, but I want to welcome you. And Trish, I should probably look up Giuseppe. Would be a good idea. Feel free to hit like if you could. Like, share, comment. Appreciate all that stuff. And thank you for joining me also on Periscope, Adonaria as well. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Apply, per tip, a foreground background jitter. So it's going to bounce between the foreground and the background. In fact, I can even do a hue jitter, but I'll take that down. So what are my foreground background colors? Are just these greens, right? So now you can see it's going to come in at these different sort of colors, bouncing between those. But I actually want to also do a hue jitter. So let me crank that up and let me show you what this likes. As I click around, we could see it's actually kind of doing a little bit more of a jitter. I give even more variety, right? And this is what I want. I want this sort of capability. And if I crank it up more, it's going to give me more colors. Take that hue jitter down, it's going to give me less colors. Okay, so this is typically what I want. I could also do this. You ready for this? Are you ready? India in the house. Katuk? Katuk? Yeah, Katuk. Katuk. All right, so fantastic. I'm going to go into, so this is typically what I'll do is I'll treat it as a stamp, right? That's what I want, just treat it as a stamp. Awesome, right? I get a lot of control with the brush that way. Okay, you ready? This is worth your price of admission today, by the way. Suhelia from Netherlands. Check this out. I want to, all these changes I just made to shape dynamics, vary the shape and the angle, the size and the angle, vary the color, so have it bounce between the foreground and background. I always want all my brushes to be that same thing. Well, guess what? I'm going to lock this down. Boom. Boom. Do you know of those little locks? Because guess what? Yeah, that's right. I have a ton more of brushes in here. All these brushes are different. But since I've locked down my settings, I could do the same thing with all these other brushes, right? So look at that, adding in and using that one. Here's another leaf brush. Let's take down the size. You can see what it's doing there, and so on and so forth. All right, does that make sense? Hopefully it does. I get it. This looks like, I don't know. I don't know why it's green and looking kind of like something that I'm not going to talk about right now. Okay, so fantastic. Ooh, we could do a tutorial on the pattern tool. That might work out well too. Let's take it a step further real fast, by the way. We'll go back into my brush settings. Excuse me, let me select a brush first. The one that I was working on. All right, here's my brush. Boom, 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 boom. Let's do another thing. I want to get a lot done quickly. Brush settings, scattering. Check this out. Scattering. How much do we want to scatter it? Right, and how much of a count do we want? So notice, watch what happens right down here in this thumbnail when I change it. Scattering is going to start scattering those. So now I'll make this smaller, but now I'm going to click, and you can see we get all of those like so. Let me change this pattern color back to green, and you can see what it does, and it does the obvious. So that's what I started doing here. Let me go back into this project. Rather than manipulating all of these different little leaves, which was very complex and took me a lot of time, I said, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and just paint with it. You ready for this? I'm going to turn off some of these properties just so we can kind of isolate the background. Right, look at this. Let's turn off that stuff. Okay, you ready for this? Everybody ready for this? This is going to be sweet. So here's, again, an advanced tip. I'm going to go ahead and take this original image, right? Here's the original image. For this original image, I'm going to add a layer mask, right? I've even added a shortcut, by the way. You probably can't see that, but it's right down here. I'm adding a layer mask for this image right here. Let's get rid of, you can't see that other stuff, so I'm moving it down. Just putting that away. For this image right here, add a layer mask, just like that. I'm actually going to make that all black, right? And now I'm going to paint with white on top of it, but I'm going to paint with that brush. So going in here, I'm going to turn off scattering. I have the shape dynamics for this particular brush, and now I can start clicking and kind of revealing that image, which is what I'm doing right now. See, as it's starting to reveal her face, it's a clever way. In this case, I want to kind of showcase and show the image by using that brush. Of course, the color dynamics, it's actually bouncing through. I think I'll have to double check to see if it's doing different opacities, but that's what I'm getting. And again, this is quick, pretty amazing art that we're making really easily, right? We went from, you know, creating a brush to getting kind of ugly. I get it. Just don't tune out when I get to that part. But here you can see it kind of come to life, and all of a sudden, you know, you can see that she's like floating in midair as I start to add to this particular image. Keep in mind, I can go back over here. Same thing, same process. Locking, shape dynamics, color dynamics, switching to a different brush because we want different shapes. This is a different shape right in here. I have this one as well. It's a little more complex. I have this brush right here. Again, just adding to the dynamicness of this particular piece that I'm working on. Cool. So again, just creative use of brushes. I think sometimes people get scared of brushes because, you know, they're not an illustrator, when you could do so much with brushes, and they help you really just speed up your process. And that was the goal today. All right. I hope you remember to do all this too, because look, again, we're creating something pretty cool in a short amount of time, very easily. And just to recap the steps, bring in an image, select that image, right? Selecting this. It doesn't even need to be square. It could be any size you want. Selecting it, go to edit. Actually, I'll do this with flower. really fast as I kind of wrap up. Grab anything you want. I'll grab this one right here. Here's a nice flower. There we are. Right, selecting it. I typically turn off the background because I don't know if it's doing a selecting merged. Define brush preset. Boom. Once we have our brush right down here, we can play with the brush settings. And seeing as I've already have this locked in, I immediately have all of those properties ready to go. So when I start to paint, you can see it's going to work out just fine as I click around. All right, cool. All right, Katuk, hopefully that works for you. I encourage you to go ahead and make cool artwork like I'm doing my best to do here. I'm going to be posting this to Instagram later because I'm not sure how I feel about it, right? Because I just don't know if it's, I think I'm adding maybe too much at this point as I start to take a look at it. So I could use your help on sort of getting your opinion on what I end up posting today. It would be fantastic if I have your help. So I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Optimum Life, I see you over there. Oh, you're so nice. Optimum Life. Good to have you here. And everybody who's joining me, really appreciate your time and for hanging out with me. Keep in mind, I'm going to post that artwork just right over here, right there, to Instagram later today, as soon as I do some cleanup. I hope this doesn't become a piece that I never finish because I'm never it's never fully there. But thank you so much, Mary and Carol and Katuk and everyone who's joining me. Remember, call your mom, drink lots of water, and be nice to one another. And thank you, Beetlejace. Yeah, Jason, thanks, buddy. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. We will catch you all